Hello guys, this is Viennoir Ogremen, your instructor. Now that we are done inserting data to the database, what we are going to do now is to make sure that everything that we are sending into the database or what we are sending using a form is validated. What we are going to do is to use this CodeIgniter class, the form validation. This form validation from CodeIgniter is a comprehensive form validation and data prepping class that helps minimize the amount of code you will write. Okay, the use of this is to make sure that everything is validated. For example, if we have a required field, for example, if you do not want the user to submit a form that is blank, for example, the name should not be blank, or the address, or the username, or the password, and any other thing that you want to be required. Actually, it is not just for requiring a field because we have a lot of validations in here. Okay, let us start. For example, we want to validate our registration page. Since this is the page wherein we start the data and insert the data, what we are going to do is go to the controller, to the register. This is the register method, but we are going to use the validation in this register validation method. What we are going to do is copy this code. This is for loading the form validation class. What this will do is load the form validation class. After that, we need to set the validation rules. Okay, for starters, let us copy this. This one is for the username. Just paste it here. Okay, what this will do is this will validate. What this will do is this will validate the username field and make sure that it is a required field, and it has a minimum length of 5 and it has a maximum length of 12. Of course, we can edit this. For example, we want the minimum length as 15, we can do that. But for now, let us just stick with the default. For the maximum length, 12. And of course, this is a very useful validation. This is to make sure that every user's or every username is unique. In this example, we are using the isUnique validation rule. What this is doing is that inside this user's table, it will check in the username field, which is this one, and make sure that it is unique, or whatever is inputted in here does not exist in the database already or in the table. And after that, we have an array. For example, if we trigger an error or the user did not input any file, or the user did not input any, or the user left it blank, this error will be shown to the user or to the client. Then we have here the error message for the unique. This will be shown to the client. Okay. This $S will be replaced with this username. For example, if we have a required error, this will read as "you have not provided username." Or for the unique error, this username already exists. Of course, we are lacking one parenthesis. Let us just arrange this. Then let us now go to the other rules. Let's say for the password and the confirm password. Let us paste it here. For this validation, this will check the password field once we submit from what we have created. Once we submit data from the form, from what we have created, and this will be the name of the field, and this is the rule, which in this case, the password field should be required. Okay? Next is the password comp. But I think this is not the name of our field. Let us check if this is the correct name of our field. Okay. For our case, the name is C password. So let us go ahead and change this. Okay. Then of course, the name is password confirmation, and this should be required. And this is important, wherein the C password or the password confirmation field should match to the password field, which is very nice and very easy. Next, what you are going to do is add another validation rule for the remaining field, which is the address. So what we're going to do is just copy and paste that. Let's change this to address, and this one to address, and the address should be required. Okay, but before that, I noticed that we have a misspelling in here, so we need to fix that. Let's add a D in there and save. Then, now that we have set up our rules for the validation, next is for the checking if the validation is successful or we do not have an error. Now what we are going to do is to use this snippet and copy this to our code. I will paste it here. Okay. Let us delete this and this also. Okay. What this code will do is run the form validation and check if the result is equals to false. Meaning, if the form validation fails, it will execute whatever is inside this scope. So for example, if you want to redirect that back to the registration page, you can do that. And of course, we need to show an error, but that will be for the next discussion. Then if the validation is successful, or all of the fields is successful, or we have no error, we will try to insert the data into our database. And of course, if the insert is not successful, we can redirect that to the user's register. Of course, we need to set an error here. Would also set error here. And if the insertion to the database is successful, we need to set a success message. Let us try to check if our form validation is working. Before we test our form validation, we first need to say to it that we can echo the errors, which in this case, we need to copy this code and then paste it just above the registration page. So let me arrange this first. Okay. Just above the form, we will be echoing the validation error if there is an error. Okay, let us try that. I will refresh the page. We have an error because we need to load the form validation in the registration page also. Okay, let us refresh, and now we have no error. Let us try to submit something blank. Let us check. Right now, no error message, but also there is no data that is being inserted because we are not allowed to insert the data if there is an error in our validation rules. Okay. Now what we are going to do is, for the moment, let us just copy this. And in here, let us not redirect first. For the moment, let us just echo the validation errors. Okay. Let us try again. Refresh and then submit a blank form. And now we have errors. For the errors, we have here, you have not provided username. The password field is required, which is correct because these are blank. For the password confirmation also, we have submitted the blank password confirmation and the address field is required also. So now we have a working form validation rules. Let us just move this just above the password. And now let us now try to edit for the edit user page validation. So what we are going to do is very easy. All we have to do is just copy the rules and the loading of form validation, and then let us go to the edit validation. Okay, so the same thing, username, this one also. So let us validate the address and the password. Okay. And of course, I think the username should not be editable. And this should be disabled. Let us try to check. First, let us add the data first. This one. Let's try if the confirm password is working. Okay, the password confirmation does not match with the password field. So it is working. Let us try the same password. Register. And now we have new data. Let us try editing this. Okay, this is disabled. And only the name and the address is editable. Okay. Let us just arrange this one also. Now let us go back to the validation of form. Okay. Now let us copy this part here. And then let us paste it here. Replace this. Let us replace this to edit. But before we test our validation rules, we need to delete this first. And let us try to submit a form which has no name. Edit user. And now we have an error. Password field is required. But I think we have an error here because this should be name, because what we are editing is the name and address only. And we have a problem with our edit because the user model edit should not have a username. Okay, let us go back. Let us delete this first. Let us register something. Register. Working. Let us try to submit the blank name and address. Okay, we have an error. Name field is required, address field is required. Okay, now it is working. I think we are done setting up our validation. I think we are done setting up our form validation. Our next lesson will be about logging in, session, and the notification, which involves flash sessions or flash data. Okay. So I think that is it for now. Thank you, and I hope you learned something from this tutorial. See you next time.